Hello, I'm horror cartoonist Denis St John. I draw monsters and write twisted tales. As you can imagine, I was a little obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Lucky for me, so were most of my high school friends, all except one. One friend who stubbornly refused to join the Scoobies. So here we are, 20-some-odd years later. I'm teaming up with Doc Travis, John Teach Landis, and maybe a special guest or two. And we're going to make our friend, Michael Poley, watch one episode of Buffy a week until he's no longer the Buffy Virgin. Welcome to Buffy Virgin, a spoiler-free Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast. We're going to be reminiscing about Season 2 with Season 5, Episode 14, Crush. I'm your host, monster expert, Denis St John. Why don't you guys introduce yourself from least to most tired right now?
I am John Landis, and I am the least tired because it is 5:14 in the afternoon where I am.
It's a perfect time to be totally awake.
I'm Travis. I'm kind of beat right now, but it's pretty early where we are.
My name is Michael. I'm the Virgin, and I'm the most tired. I've only seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer up to Season 5, Episode 14, Crush.
Excellent. But before we get into Episode 14, let's do reactions to Season 5, Episode 9, Listening to Fear.
Audience reactions.
So at Dingo Action, Rich says, this is excellent, but releasing a new episode the same day as the Buffering Cast interview with Charisma Carpenter is like when Sisters came out the same day as Force Awakens.
I listened to that interview. It was good.
I haven't gotten to it. I'm still halfway through the Seth Green interview.
Oh, that one's really good.
And then over on YouTube, and I'm really sorry, I probably pronounce your name wrong often, but Kaipa Nagoi says, Dennis, you made me cry. Thank you for sharing with us. The scene where Buffy cries while washing the dishes with obnoxiously loud and silly music always gets to me. It's a beautiful, emotional scene, and SMG kills it. And of course, the final scene between Joyce and Buffy, when Joyce realizes the burden that her daughter has to carry, not only being the Slayer. So thank you. That's what I'm here for, to make people cry. Let's see if we can get some emotions while we listen to the summary for this week's episode.
The summary.
This is the episode where Spike's love life becomes legendary, where all his loves gather in one place, the secret basement beneath the basement. Before the calamity, Harmony role-plays as Buffy for Spike's sexual pleasure, while Drusilla tastes everyone on the train from LA. Ready to take things to the next level, Spike and Buffy go on a stakeout and scare away a few harmless vamps, while Spike reveals the thing that Buffy has only begun to fear, that this might be a date. And Spike wants to date Buffy. Rejected, Spike and Drew spontaneously reconnect. Is Spike back? He's certainly not getting back with Harmony, who he tosses out of the way. Buffy gets cattle prodded, and so does Drew. And now every woman that Spike has been with lately is tied up in his basement. And we are presented with the classic prisoner dilemma. Give me what I want, which is your love, or die. If Buffy tells Spike he loves her, he'll kill Drew. If she says nothing, Spike will let Drew kill her. This can only end one way, with everyone's plans failing. Harmony leaves for LA, Drew is heartbroken, Buffy escapes, and Spike gets the door slammed in his face.
All right, let's do some great lines.
Great lines.
All right, so I really enjoyed where there's a little back and forth between Buffy and Spike. Buffy says, what, that chip in your head? That's not change. It's just holding you back. You're like a serial killer in prison. And Spike says, women marry them all the time.
I love the line from Xander and the Bronze. So, who's up for some more liquid refreshments? I'm buying, for I am payday man.
Which really does point out he is the only one among them who has a fucking job.
That's true.
No. Anya works at the Magic Shop.
That's true.
That's true.
I mean, they're the responsible couple with jobs. That's
wow,
all
they
I'm
are
saying.
the responsible couple. How crazy is that?
Buffy deserves a stipend. Anyway.
Yeah, she does deserve a stipend.
Yeah, totally.
Do you think
Especially now
Giles
that
gives her like a
Giles-
kickback? Yeah.
Especially now that Giles is back on the pay train or whatever.
Yeah.
This is like, I got Watcher cash.
Yeah.
She showed it like she had an opportunity right then and there to be like, I am putting my life in the line. You guys should pay me a stipend. And she forgot.
That's like taking them hostage. That list of demands would be too much. I feel like getting Giles payback is already too much.
There are two lines that I liked. One was Xander saying to Spike, "Hey, Evil Dead, you're in my seat," which is like a really great era-appropriate Evil Dead joke, because at that time there were just 2 Evil Deads and no TV show. So, I
think there were 3.
Yeah, Army of Darkness was out by then.
Oh, okay, well, I guess that's Army of Darkness, not Evil Dead, but anyways.
Still, yeah, totally solid.
And then Buffy says to her mom, "As long as Spike is still Chips Ahoy in the head, he can't hurt us."
Those are good ones.
I mean, didn't we have Chip jokes with Adam? Or who do we have Chip? I thought we had more Chip jokes.
Yeah, there's like there's the word like chips all around then.
Yeah. There's chips all around then.
For the listeners in
come
the
in a
UK,
potty
those are
pack?
crisp jokes.
Although Chips Ahoy is a cookie. You know, we should. Hey, in the US, Chips Ahoy is actually a cookie.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed Drusilla's crazy little monologue, anti-science monologue. I don't believe in science. All those bits and molecules no one's ever seen. I trust eyes and heart alone. And do you know what mine is singing out right now? You're a killer, born to slash and bash and bleed like beautiful poetry. No little tinker toy could ever stop you from flowing. And then later she's like, little bits of plastic spider webbing out nasty blue shocks, and everyone is a lie.
That's excellent.
That shit is crazy.
Do you think she would have been like a flat earther? Do you think like Drusilla now would be a flat earther?
Yeah.
She'd be like an anti-vaxxer, flat earther.
I mean, that was amazing reading, Dennis. You really captured the tone on that. That was so good.
Thank you. All right. So the kill count.
The kill count.
We have 8 humans, all Drusilla, which might be a single episode murder record, and 1 4-person knockdown drag out that results in 0 fatalities, which I just thought was crazy. Now let's get on to weird noticings and trivia.
All right, out the gate, we need to decide, or the show needs to decide whether this there's the game about whether Spike is or is not on the team. I couldn't believe how frustrated I was, and maybe this is the wrong time to bring this up in this episode, but like, can we just be we can either be kind to Spike and have him be on the team, or like weirdly tolerate him hanging out. Such a mess. And right from the get-go in the scene of the Bronze, where he's like both empathetic and then a thief, and like he's just all the things in the Bronze, and it clearly living moment to moment with no particular agenda or plan. Ugh.
And it's clear like later on, like Buffy, he's the person Buffy goes to for like a team up, now, but he's not part of the team. Even though he's like a more active part of the team than anyone else. And Spike is dressed slightly differently this week than he usually is, which like symbolizes his attempt at change, and it's such weak sauce. Like he's wearing almost the same jacket, but a different one, like, and like more neutral colors.
Yeah, I actually think that what happened here is that Spike is trying to dress like Riley. So if you look at that jacket, I think Riley has a similar jacket. He's wearing khakis. I think Spike is cosplaying as Riley in order to catch Buffy's eye.
Wow.
Weird move, Spike. Weird move.
What kind of weird ass poster should Spike have on his crypt wall instead of balls? Would it be like different types of blood?
Yeah.
No,
Or like blood shots?
Season 1 Buffy the Vampire Slayer poster.
Ooh, that would have been amazingly meta.
It would go well in his shrine, yeah. Right, sorry.
Oh no, I'm glad there are consequences for the teleportation spell. That was so broken, and that Willow is like, "Oh, I'm having headaches and nosebleeds and stuff." Like, I mean, that sucks for her, but also like They need something.
Yeah.
But why not a trip to visit the first layer instead? I don't know, because like that was that weird established thing that happened at the end, end last season, whatever, when they, power up Buffy, and then teleportation. I mean, it comes from a different place. It's not powering Buffy, but I'm sure there's a fun chart that could be made of what the consequences are for various spells, like because you got to have. If you're going to have a strong wizard, you got to have some kind of consequence. Otherwise, they're like spelling people all the time and become the king of the world in like whatever. These are the things to help avoid Superman situations from happening, since this show is doing
totally agree. You got to have balance.
I like how no one's like, let's do a CAT scan of Willow's head because she's having headaches and nosebleeds. Medical care is only for parents.
Right. Well, I mean, Giles hasn't had his CAT scan yet, as far as we know, and he's been knocked out how many times?
He can't remember how many times.
I presume that he gets regular medical appointments. He just doesn't bring the Scooby Gang to his doctor appointments.
Well, we also didn't see Xander go to the ER and have a cast. I mean, I guess there's like lots of things we haven't seen, right? Because don't get me started.
Giles is just feeling the consequences of all the spells he cast in his Ripper days. That's what the head knocks are for now. It's just like all these delayed consequences. Okay, but John, what is the comic book? What superhero comic, speaking of heroes, is the cop at Sunnydale train station?
So
reading?
First screenshot in the doc.
First, that's not a cop, right? That's a guy working the train station.
Yes, I believe he works for the train station.
He's a conductor.
Like a
His name is
agent.
So if I can tell you, based on the HD version of the show, that his name is Sutton, based on his name tag. So Sutton
I thought it was Button.
Sutton is reading a comic book. I do not know exactly what it is. I'm hoping Dennis can tell me, but I can definitely see Captain America in the panel on the right middle there.
Yeah, it looks like Captain America and Carol Danvers and the other Captain Marvel. So I would guess that this is an Avengers book.
Okay. So he's reading Avengers. It's a early connection between Avengers and Joss Whedon, I suppose.
Yeah.
But you really buried the lead on this shot, because the amazing thing is this sign for Sunnydale, the Sunnydale station, which tells us the distance, the number of miles to LA and the number of miles to San Francisco. And I was really excited when I found this, because I'm like, listen, wow, okay, I know exactly how many miles to LA, how many miles is to San Francisco. I can like plot this on a map, and I can find out the exact location of Sunnydale. Unfortunately, what it says is that San Francisco is 682 miles away, and that Los Angeles is 482 miles away. So if you draw those radii on a map and look at where the circles cross, there are two places where Sunnydale could be. One of them is in the middle of the ocean, and the other one is all the way in northeastern Arizona. So not in California, and certainly not on the beach. In fact, being 682 miles away from San Francisco means you cannot possibly be in the state of California. So I don't really know what to make of this. I've been really trying to figure out like what's going on here in the Buffyverse that would allow this sign to exist. My best guess is that in the Buffyverse, in the alternate history that is the Buffyverse, the mile is actually a completely different unit. It was corrupted by a demon back in the day, perhaps.
So so miles have to be a much shorter distance.
Yeah, definitely. Otherwise, there's no way that you can be in California on the coast and be that distance from those two cities.
Have you
let me put a monkey wrench in the system. What if SF meant Santa Fe instead of San Francisco?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. I did consider that LA was Louisiana, but that would have put us in Texas. SF could be Santa Fe. I'll have to run the numbers on that and get back to you.
I think it's not meant to be Santa Fe. Also, they could have put, Hawaii. I mean, no one could read this.
It's interesting they even made this and then put this like crazy wrong numbers on it.
Right. What's also interesting is that it says the elevation is 1,182.
Whoa.
Which, if assuming that that's feet, is a crazy high elevation for a place that's on the beach. Yep. So, if taking Santa Barbara as the Sunnydale analog, Santa Barbara is only like 50 feet above sea level. Because it's on the beach.
I feel like there was an actual town called Sunnydale that they stole this from. Like it's so insanely inaccurate. Somebody's like, you know what? I think we've got an old Sunnydale thing we bought at auction. Let's put it up. I mean, it's so inaccurate. It's like they were just trolling us. It's like Easter egg trolls because it's like it's so wrong on 3 different levels.
Oh, and Michael, to address your question, what if it was kilometers? Unfortunately, the sign says miles, not even like abbreviated, but spelled out MILES.
Yeah.
No, I'm inclined to believe it's Santa Fe now. I think for SF.
No. But what doesn't make sense is that the station agent comes on and says, end of the line, as if Sunnydale was the end of the line between LA and San Francisco. Like that was a possibility. Like it's a connection. Like Sunnydale cannot actually be the end of the line to a train that travels between San Francisco and LA.
It could be just a local train.
It could be a local train. That would be the only explanation.
I actually have some evidence to support that it's a local train. When you see the newspaper that tells of the killing, if you freeze frame that, the headline refers to it as a metro train.
But it was clearly an Amtrak.
It does look. It definitely looks like an Amtrak.
So
This is the kind of stuff our audience really loves.
The comic book is just there to distract you from the misinformation going on behind you.
The guy is also destroying his comic book by folding it over. He's not even like taking care of the pages.
Oh, that proves he's a real fan.
He's a reader,
and
not a collector.
Yeah.
He's a reader, not a breeder. I'll say that.
That just rhymes, doesn't mean anything.
I know. It means nothing. It means nothing.
Stupid English language.
Trav, you got the next one?
Oh, really? I'm so distracted. I can't even remember what I wrote. Oh, yeah. I was just saying, Mike. Yeah. Oh, Mike. Yeah. We need a train station in Sunnydale. I totally forgot that Sunnydale had. Anyways, who else forgot that Harmony was still in Sunnydale? Because I did.
Spike did, pretty much.
I want to talk for just a second about that role play they do. Because, like, Harmony does sexual role play as Buffy, somebody she bullied in high school. This isn't like role play as like a fictional character or a celebrity or something. This was somebody she knows.
Yeah.
This is legit weird.
Well, how weird is it to ask your girlfriend to do sexual role play as someone you know?
Yeah.
I think that's extremely creepy.
This is a weird fucking relationship.
It's not okay.
Is this the kind of shit you get up to when you don't have a soul? Anyone else?
I mean, no. I mean, it's an amazing scene. I feel like we keep seeing shades of this scene. You know, like this is not the first time we've seen this joke play out, but it's the first time that like it's like the fantasy is like being rehearsed over and over again, and like this is the latest manifestation. I mean, this is the show is framing it around a crush. I mean, this is straight up Ted Bundy style bullshit. This is like, you know, how you gradually get the nerve to rape someone is by rehearsing it over and over again. So this is like just rape training.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an assault and a rape, right? I mean, she's like, I'm going to get you. And then he like stops her. I mean, it's pretty clear what that is. But it's done playfully, so, you know, it's fun.
Yeah. All right. The Hunchback scene. I think they're talking about the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I think the camera is purposely not showing the drink machine just to annoy John at this point.
100%. Although I will say that we do see a vending machine that just says foods, which I think is the soulmate of the drinks machine.
You know what? Why don't we do another zoom and enhance?
Oh yeah, this was me requesting. I thought the Terror Sphinx t-shirt had more stuff written on it than what actually is written on it, but it's still an amazing sweater, and I would totally wear that sweater.
Yes, it just says Night Finks, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I thought the squigglies was going to be like either dates or like screaming or something.
Yeah, I think John has successfully trained us all to get obsessed with little details. Later on, when we see Spike's like cave, I swear to God, I thought there was like cave paintings there for a while, and I was like, John, zoom in and enhance, and then I realized it was just roots.
Yeah, so I don't like how Dawn ignores Spike's request for her to leave. She like goes into his crypt spot, and then is like hanging out. And he's like, "Get out of here, whatever, little scamp." And she's just like, "I want to know what's going on down in the basement. I want to hang out." And like, I don't know why he allows her to justify, why she's there. Like, she should just go. When a person tells you to leave, you should leave. This just like, I get it. Like, she's kind of an annoying little sister, and she's treating Spike like a brother. But man, I do not approve of this behavior.
Well, definitely. Also, kids have no boundaries, right?
Oh, totally. Such a kid scene.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a huge trigger for me.
I also related to
someone with a younger sister.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
Like I also related to the next scene as like an older brother of like when Buffy is like just frustrated with like, don't hang out with vampires, of like when your younger sibling starts to get into like trouble or hanging out with the bad crowd, and you're like it's very frustrating because you can see it and you're like, but you're too dumb to know how to avoid things. Like, I felt that feeling. All right. So when Xander and Buffy are investigating the train station, I just wanted to call out Buffy sitting in the victim outline is good visual humor. A+ stuff.
And what about Xander being upset that Dawn doesn't crush on him anymore?
That's just weird. Xander, come on.
Oh, I just wanted to call out that Willow has a really good outfit. I feel like the outfits in general have been sort of toned down lately, but this episode has quite a bit of fashion to talk about. So Willow is rocking this amazing sort of tan mustard colored sweater that's buttoned down, and it's got 3 different dogs and a blue ribbon on it.
Yeah, I saw that blue ribbon. What's that blue ribbon about?
No idea. Is there a blue ribbon cause like pink ribbons or red ribbons?
Oh, there has to be. All those ribbons mean something. Right?
Well, doesn't blue ribbon just means you're a winner? This is like she won the dog show or something? Because there's dogs on her sweater. I'm not calling her a dog.
So, okay. Wow. This is an amazing website that lists the all the different causes by their ribbon color. And there are no fewer than like 50 different blue ribbon causes. Carpal tunnel syndrome. It could be carpal tunnel syndrome awareness. It could be restless leg syndrome awareness. It could be paralysis awareness. It could be malaria awareness. It could be juvenile arthritis awareness. It could be free speech awareness. It could be gout awareness.
All right, let's say it's gout.
Is there anything there about gingerbread awareness?
So we get another Spike and Joyce scene, and I think those have a history of always being like charming and fun. And this one feels a little sad because like you can see the pretense in it more. So it's just a bit of a bummer. And what are usually great scenes. So Spike is playing the Ramones in his head and asks the question that Buffy does not answer. Does Buffy like the Ramones?
I think no, because we know Buffy's musical tastes. It really leans more towards like horrible jam bands that play for 8 hours. Like that's her thing.
Excellent. Yeah, this was totally a question I was asking John because he is the musical taste of Buffy Summers expert.
There's another string cheese incident placement in this episode as well in the Summers household. Wow. I'll leave it as an exercise for the listener to find that.
They do such a good job this episode nailing that feeling when a person who's obsessed with you and you're hanging out and like it's clearly a date, and then you like recognize it's a date. You know, when Spike's barely got this half-assed plan to blame these murders on 2 vampires that just live somewhere, and he's like, yeah, stakeout, let's do this. It's like drink, pass her drink, hanging out. Like, just this whole mess of a thing. It's like, we are not studying this. What are you up to? This is a mistake out.
Yeah. I also want to point out those vampires have the only appropriate response to seeing Buffy Summers.
Yeah, that's right.
Boom.
I love the characterization of those two vampires, that they're like going through stolen CDs and making Jiffy Pop. That's great. That is great, non-threatening, low-level criminal behavior.
Yeah.
And then, man, I guess I'll just jump into it a little bit, but Spike destroying his love life with his dating. Oh my gosh. The scene and series of scenes like in act 3 of this is such a mess. And I know we're going to jump into it, but just wow.
I also love like Drusilla's reveal is like a big reveal, but her name is in the credits. So like, I don't know. It's just a problem of TV. They let you know who's going to be on the show before.
All right. They're contractually obligated to let you know.
Yeah.
I guess let's talk about the scene, right? So the scene. Okay, so Drusilla shows up. I love that appearance because Harmony is in disbelief, and it's like, oh, it's you got someone dressed up like Drusilla, like another one of your girlfriends. Okay, sure, whatever, but no threesomes because only with dudes. I mean, it's such a funny, bizarro scene. Like the amount
it truly is. Yeah,
the amount of conversations she has had to have had with Spike about sex to get to this like sex positive conversation about like, no, this is where we're at with threesomes. It's incredible. I love that. And then for Spike to immediately turn on Harmony and be like, nope, I'm with Drew. That's my thing.
Also, like Harmony calling Drusilla Morticia is like excellent.
Yeah, that is really good.
Oh, the insults from Harmony are so good. She should totally be on one of those like roasting shows.
I like that James Marsters like his Spike has become toned down over the years, and like when he gets back together with Drew, he starts to act like season 2 Spike again. His like swagger is back, and his weird like he starts to do his weird voice stuff again. And like I don't know, it's good acting, but it's also really funny. Like they're back.
Yeah, he kind of like starts posing a little bit more towards the camera, and he's got the swagger. He walks differently. It is really great physical like transformation.
Yeah.
Right. I guess it really shows you how much he's fallen to be with Harmony. Like what like messy's fallen into. A messy mess. I guess they go to the bronze and there's some murders before we get back to the real crazy scene.
Yeah, and the bronze is remade this episode and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
new logo.
I love the music in the bronze this episode. That like 90s early aughts alt rock is kind of perfect. So I looked up that band Devix and the song Key. Oh, I love that. I don't hear enough of those alt rock jams. They're fantastic. Oh, John, you called it out too.
Yeah, there's two bands. Two bands.
Oh, two.
Yeah, it's been a while. I feel like since we've gotten a good proper like bronze band. Like there's a couple things in this episode that feel.
That's what it feels like. Season 2.
It feels a little season 2. Yeah, that like we get bands in the bronze. We've got like good fashion moments. But there's Devix, which Michael you mentioned, who play the song, which I think is really appropriately titled Key. And they are from Los Angeles, but they've been on hiatus since 2006, so no longer still around. And the other group is called Summer Camp, which is really interesting because there's two bands that are around called Summer Camp. Apparently, one is this is the Summer Camp with no space, and the other band is Summer Space Camp, not Space
Camp.
Anyway, Summer Camp is actually from Santa Barbara, so they should have no problem finding their way around Sunnydale. And their like major thing, other than being on Buffy, is that they opened for Toad the Wet Sprocket, and they are apparently still together. Although their last show was in 2015, so it's been a little while.
They could still get the band back together. Okay, and they're wearing like silver suit. There's at least one silver suit that appears the waitress is wearing at the bronze.
Yeah, it's like a Judy Jetson situation.
That's such like a crazy like upgrade from like what I thought the bronze was. I feel like the bronze is really redefining itself as more of a club kind of vibe, but like Space Club. I don't know what that is. Also, shouldn't they be bronze? Shouldn't they be wearing bronze suits? Like, just lean in a little bit more.
Yeah, are they going to rename themselves the Silver? Come on.
I mean, it grabs your eye. Like, I feel like these are, all these leftover suits from Austin Powers or something.
Yeah. So I like Spike and Drew together. I feel like they're a more interesting couple than like Buffy has been with anyone. Just because they have like just such crazy energy. And they bring a weirdness to the world. But I also, in the Anne Rice world, Spike would be having a really hard time with that girl he drank because she was already dead. That fucks you up. Sorry, I have a bunch in a row here.
Yeah, no, that like the body handoff at the bronze, yeah.
Because like, there's clearly that sound of the neck being snapped, and that's how Spike can drink. The body's already dead. So Spike's Buffy shrine. Do you think Harmony ever saw that? It's like just in his house.
It's covered up with a sheet.
Later on, it's a little distracting that sometimes in a shot there's like 4 people because the Buffy mannequin is there.
The Buffy shrine is weird.
Yeah.
I put a picture of it down at the bottom just now. There's pictures that were clearly taken when Buffy was aware they were being taken. So I don't know. I guess maybe Spike stole those from someone else.
Oh man, did he steal charcoal drawings that Angel drew?
That's possible.
That was like the next thing was like, so he's also an artist just like Angel draws insane pictures of Darla. Spike draws insane pictures of Buffy sleeping.
And then there's also, not in that shot, but there you can also see there's no fewer than 4 stakes that he has of hers.
Wow.
She does just drop them sometimes.
One of the questions I had in this episode is like, is this how cattle prods work? Because if cattle prods are this effective against the Slayer, I feel like they need to have been employed previously because it was just like, and then you're just putty in their hands.
I mean, they get they get a bonus for surprise. I feel like that's the big, advantage.
Sure.
But yes, clearly people should be armed with cattle prods. I mean, they're like...
Didn't we see cattle prods used in an episode of Angel where he was an
Yes, we
MMA
did.
fighter?
That's right.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're kind of a variant on the whatever you call the taser, right? So like, I mean, they're just like an amped up taser. So couldn't we, guys, business idea, self-defense cattle prods? They're like an asp where they look like a taser and then you like kind of whip it out and then it's a longer taser / cattle prod. Sell them to hikers. Okay. Wow. So Act 3 is an amazing mess, right, everybody? Spike. So they cattle prod Buffy, tie her up, and then Spike basically begs her to tell him that she loves him. And, there's no way that anything she says has any meaning now because she's tied up.
Yeah, under duress. He's trying to get a legitimate confession of love under duress.
This scene is so amazing. I rewatched this scene because it's one of those scenes you can only have if everyone's you need an excuse for everybody to be in the same room.
Yeah.
First of all, and Buffy's not going to stand for this shit, so she's tied up. All right, we need Drusilla there. Okay. And we need a Harmony to show up. And it's just like everyone dropping everything they hate about Spike, everything that's frustrating about him into one space. Because you actually can't date 3 women simultaneously. One woman that looks like the other woman and an old girlfriend showing up, an ex. Like, I know there's an episode called Triangle, which is kind of like implies like kind of a love triangle kind of vibe, with the troll character, like Anya's ex. Anya's should get off light. Only Spike can create this amazing mess of a situation and then also be irritated with other people about it. And he's like almost schizophrenic when the way that he handles each partnership or each relationship. And he just wants to work with Buffy so badly. He's just literally say there's any chance. Oh, and I'm going to and I'm gonna let you go, and we can make this work or whatever. Like, don't tell this guy anything. It's such a mess. And then they all fight afterwards. It just transitions to a fight scene. Oh my gosh. This is great. If someone told me this is the show, this I want to watch this show.
Yeah. It is like, I don't know. There's a thing of like when you've got these characters that you've worked with so long that you can just like throw them together and like see how they bounce off each other. Like that scene where like Buffy, where Drew is like, I knew you were in love with I knew you were in love with her before you did. And then like she continues to talk as the audience moves on to the next like shot, and she's just like rambling in the background in her crazy way. Like that's really solid. Also, it's been so long since the show brought out the chains.
That's another season 2 marker.
It really is. Hello to the chains. And like, I don't know, Harmony as the extra crazy factor in an already nuts scene. She's really great. She could really stand her own with this craziness. I think just Harmony and Drusilla have such crazy energy levels that like Buffy can't do because she's like the series lead. Like it'd be funny if she went nuts also,
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I think in a lot of ways, Harmony is the only one who makes any sense in this scene. I mean, I guess Buffy does, but like Harmony just coming in and being like, remember me? I'm actually your girlfriend. Like that felt very like cold watery. It felt like back to reality a little bit. I appreciated that.
But just like she comes in shooting and like it's the whole thing of like walking backwards. Like
I mean, there's just this is this nightmare scene for any man. Also, would be like being in the same room with your ex, the girl you're dating, and the girl you're crushing on currently. It's like people who you like know everything about you in some way. I want every character to be exposed to this scene. I'm sure they are actually in this show.
All right. Let's do questions for the group.
Questions for the group.
This episode started with Spike not being able to handle change at the Bronze, commenting about all these new changes to the menu. Don't you hate it when your favorite places change?
I do.
What's a recent change that really bothered you to one of your favorite places?
Back in Vermont, I used to go to this really bad Mexican restaurant because like there's no good Mexican in Vermont, and they did a Hell's Kitchen episode about it, and so I went before and after the Hell's Kitchen remodel. And the food did not improve at all, but the decor was like basically like the Bronze rework, where I was like, now I don't even get that this is like, there's no like, it doesn't have a theme of a Mexican restaurant anymore. It's just this weird like how the Bronze looks like. Oh, interesting colors on every wall and like hats glued on places, but like the menu's basically the same but simpler. And they took the $2 margaritas off the menu. I was like, what the fuck?
Remodeled right off the menu.
Coming. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like this tiki bar near me that I like and has like good, mac salad, teriyaki chicken and stuff. And then it went under new management and like the food, like the flavors of the teriyaki sauce changed and like the menu looked different. Like it got a brand new, like it had like a vintage feel before because it had been the same management for so long. And now it's got like it looks like a mall restaurant menu.
Yo, I gotta call Portland problems. My tiki bar doesn't feel vintage enough anymore.
It's true. Also, they got rid of the late night buffet, which was probably a problem anyway. I didn't need a midnight teriyaki chicken buffet.
It was probably remodeled for health reasons.
Why does Spike stay around Sunnydale? I mean, it's a safe place. He's got a chip in his head. There's no angel here. Is there something I'm missing for why Spike stays around Sunnydale?
He's got a creepy obsession with Buffy. I mean, I feel like that's the majority of it now.
I guess everyone stayed in town for a crush, so we get it.
Plus, if you've been around like over 100 years, like staying somewhere for 6 months doesn't feel like that big a deal.
Okay, I buy it.
I feel like he hasn't really figured out his like how to survive without drinking blood situation, and he's still maybe a little reliant on the Scoobies giving him like money for blood every now and then.
He's also been through a tough breakup. I forgot that part. So yeah, the Drew Drusilla breakup puts him in a bad place.
Yeah, I like that they bring up the Chaos Demon again this episode. Shout out to Chaos Demon.
Oh, and I was saying there's definitely boundary issues between Dawn and Spike, and like that's like also amalgamated with like this desire to be treated as an adult when you're just a teenager, which we all felt, I'm sure. But
yeah, totally.
It is weird because she's like, I'm not human, and then she's like, well, I wasn't human, but now I am human. It's kind of interesting. Like her justification for hanging out with the vampire. But she does pick a super lame vampire to hang out with. Oh, and I said, say you're a villain. What is your bizarre calling card? Instead of like, so Drusilla had the dolls. What would be your calling card, or something that you would leave at the scene, or someone would pick up and be like, oh crap.
I would do a mini comic.
Of like the murder that you're going to commit?
Yeah, just my guess about how it's going to go.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
That's really cool.
I call him the Funny Pages killer.
Ooh, I know what John would do. John would leave like a VCR with like a VCR tape where he talks about with like him narrating like the victim that he was stalking and like what he was going to do.
He strangles them with found footage.
Yeah, there's all this found footage of John like doing weird stuff.
I'll take it.
Mike,
What would I do, Travis? You've got the takes on this.
Apparently I have all the takes. Mike would upload a rap to SoundCloud. He'd be called the SoundCloud Murderer. The SoundCloud Murderer.
I'm gonna kill you dead. I'm gonna stab your head.
Well, no, so he'd upload, here's his deal. He would upload a rap where he talks about the person he killed and how he did it before the police discover the body. With details of the crime that would not be released to the public, thus proving that he really is the murderer.
I feel like rappers do that all the time. They're constantly telling you how they committed crimes. So that's perfect.
Yeah. But I think those are more drug deals than murders, but I guess you could do SoundCloud, whatever, like terrorism or whatever, like whatever your crime, whatever type of criminal you were going to be.
Trav, what's your calling card?
Yeah, dude. You leaving a scalpel behind? What's your thing?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what my thing would be. I'd like to leave something that was once alive, but in a state of decay. So I was thinking maybe like a flower, or like, dead flowers are like, that's very typical and like very traditional. So I thought about doing something like that. It also would be like really inconvenient, like to get a flower that would be totally out of season. So that would be like my thing would be like, I can't kill this person because I can't get the orchid I need to leave at the scene of the crime. I guess they're going to live for another 8 months until this thing's ready to bloom. So that'd be like my thing would be like, this is crazy. This flower is found 4,000 miles from the scene of the crime. That'd be like, something's up.
Does sound like only Sherlock Holmes can solve that kind of crimes, which are great. I think you've left 2 clues for what your calling card might be based on an earlier conversation. I think their hands would be straight.
Oh, yes. I would sever the tendons and yes, yeah. There you go.
I was thinking like a model airplane shoved in their mouth or something.
Oh yeah.
Whoa. I was going to say a vinyl record, like a solid color vinyl, like a halo sitting behind their head.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. Interesting.
Or, sorry, I've got too many ideas about how you would leave murder evidence or whatever. Traditional Amish furniture. They'd be seated in a traditional wooden chair. Custom made for the victim.
A custom-made Amish casket. There you go.
Whoa.
So when someone from your past shows up and you suddenly can't stop acting like the younger version of yourself?
I have that experience once a week.
Uh,
Not anymore.
Yeah, welcome to the 90s time travel show.
No, actually, I feel like when we first were doing this show, that was a little bit like that. But the more we do it, the more I think it catches up to the present day.
Yeah. That's just what Spike was going through this up.
Definitely.
Hanging around Drusilla too much.
But it is true, right? Because you get used to reacting a certain way around certain people. And then if you do see them again, it's like that version of you that they see is trapped in the past. And like,
Yeah.
it is crazy, even like just messaging people from college who are like asking me about things that I was working on in college or like interest in college. And it's like, I feel like I've moved on so much, even from, what's that, 10 years, 15 years ago. And it's like, I've so moved on from those ideas, but that's the last time you chatted. They're like, oh, how's this whatever writing project? I'm like, oh, that? Oh, I just moved on with my life on that thing.
So I didn't want to. I don't want to ask this from Buffy's side of it, but I will ask it from. Or I don't want to ask it from the Spike side of it, but I'll ask it from the Buffy side of it. Have you ever had somebody crush on you in a way that made you uncomfortable? I have not.
Someone having a crush on me that made me uncomfortable? Yes, definitely. I've totally been Buffy in the car where someone then's like, hey, I really like you. I think I've talked about it on this podcast even, but maybe not every version of it. But yes, it's happened multiple times to me where I'm suddenly on a date and I don't want to be, with hanging out with coworkers. It just happens and I don't like it. And it's always someone invites you to see a movie at their place. That's a good one. Or you get invited to do something kind of like that's both outside of both people's, like clearly a date. Like it's not something you've done before. You're like, oh, we're going to go on a hike. I'm like, oh, I've never gone hiking with this person. That's kind of fun. Or like go, to get a coffee someplace. Just something kind of like banal sounding that doesn't have a clear purpose. That sounds like friendship. And then boom, it's something. It isn't friendship. And you should have known. So yeah, it's super uncomfortable. I hate it because those are the end of your friendship, which sucks about crushes, right? It's like, oh, I guess this needs to be cut off. So I'm totally relating to Joyce and Willow advice giving on that. I'm like, oh, I wish I had you in my life telling me that's how that worked.
You just wish you had a uninvite spell to your house or apartment that would keep out your crush.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Was it disinvitation or whatever?
Yeah, I feel like this has maybe happened to me like once or twice, but I'm more for the side of like because I'm a single guy and I like have a lot of female friends. Like when I'm hanging out doing casual friend stuff, like trying my best to make sure like it doesn't read as romantic because that can be the default when you're like the single guy hanging out. Like I feel like it's a careful slope to be like, we're going to be really good friends, but I'm not going to do like this next level of like behavior, it's a balancing act I have to play sometimes. Not that like, I'm like worried about my friends being like trying to date me. I'm more worried about it just being perceived that way.
Right.
Yeah, that's safe. Call it out, right?
No flasks of bourbon. That's on the no list.
No drinking and driving either.
Instead of opening doors, I keep doors closed.
What were the chances that like those were literally just some of Spike's friends and that he was planning to stop by later and then brings a killer? Oh, dick.
Yeah, I think I've had once or twice the crush, but nothing to the state of Buffy experienced. So.
No, I mean, yeah, and if I crush on someone in the it's distant past at this point, but if I'm crushing on someone, I'm so obnoxious. I'm not.
You make it clear.
I can't. One of my diseases is authenticity, and so I like can't hide those kinds of things at all. So it's like both a good thing and a bad thing. It's both good and bad for my professional life. It's just like I can't be dishonest. Or hold things inside at all.
Oh, the burdens of the extrovert.
Truly, they are burdens.
All right, let's do some themes and deep stuff.
Deep stuff.
So one of the tensions I think we've had lately between us and some certain members of our listening audience is that I think increasingly the four of us are really not Team Spike. And I felt a little bit vindicated this episode where Spike's behavior is so awful and so creepy, like with the homophobic slurs, and that's sort of bracketed off to the side, but also like just with his general horrible behavior of his entitlement to like his entitlement to Buffy reciprocating his feelings. And then also like when she doesn't reciprocate his feelings, it's like he immediately goes to, violence.
Yeah.
But not only violence, but like emotional blackmail, threats, and then also like straight up misogyny. Like he's like immediately, it's not just like I'm angry with Buffy for not liking me. It's like immediately like fuck women is where he goes. He's like, you and Drusilla and all you ladies are the worst. Spike is so reprehensible in this.
You just did this thing about how terrible he is, and I'm just gonna be like, I actually like Spike in this episode because he's a monster. And it's like, this is what I like about Spike. I like season 2 Spike. I like Spike with Drew and just like a couple of psychoing out. And that to me is fun. And so like this episode is like everything I like about Spike is finally back. But it's also clear like why he shouldn't be dating Buffy. Why this guy is actually a monster. And like why he should be recast again as the villain, not like as the romantic lead. Like bring back villain Spike.
Yes, I think we're in vigorous agreement. I do enjoy watching Spike be awful.
Yeah, I just think Drew and Spike are so fun together. It makes me really sad Drew's not on the show more. And I wouldn't want a character this crazy to like totally be gone. I just want them not to be like the charming angel character,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and Spike's a villain. He's not an anti-hero.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that much is clear. And I was saying, if I was the DA for Sunnydale, my charges, Spike's crimes this one episode, one count accessory to murder, 3 counts of assault and battery, against Harmony, Buffy, and Drusilla, 2 counts of kidnapping Buffy and Drusilla, tying them up to me in a crypt underneath your house. I believe most juries would agree that would be kidnapping. Petty theft of the money at the Bronze, driving under the influence, and I'm just going to say trespassing as well, because he's living in the crypt without permission, obviously.
What about child endangerment?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he actually endangered her or not, but that's a good question.
I love you're calling out the crypt beneath the crypt, because that is terrifying. There's a sub-crypt.
Love that set, by the way. That's like a really excellent set. The all the vines from or all the roots from trees underneath it and everything. It's a cool looking like.
I'm sure tree roots do not work like how they're depicted.
Yeah, those trees are fucked.
Yeah, those are all dead trees. All dead trees. Yeah, Spike is not a hero, and he's not an anti-hero. He's a villain.
But you're kind of like, he's kind of an amazing actor, though. So you kind of in love with it. Like you want to see more of this character. And that's the problem here. It's like James Marsters as Spike is great and it's fun, but as a character, like he's an emotional mess. He's dangerous for everyone on the show. Like they how could you be on Team Spike except you're like, oh, I like that actor. That'd be cool.
Yeah, and no neutral tone khaki Spike.
Yeah, it really is a bad look for him. Here's an additional sort of theme for this episode. One of the things that comes up is the question of like, what is a soul versus a chip? Right? Mm-hmm. Where if the idea is sort of, I guess, that like you can change somebody's behavior, but it doesn't necessarily change who they are like on the inside, right? And I think that, that's sort of, that's one school of thought, but there's also the sort of like the fake it till you make it school of thought, where if you do change someone's behavior, like if you make somebody write enough thank you notes, they eventually cultivate gratefulness through doing that. And I wonder
if you pretend to smile, you eventually feel happiness.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with Spike, he's been forced into better behavior by the chip. And he pretends there's one point where he says, I've changed, Buffy, I can be good, which is obviously not true. But I wonder as we watch Spike, I think it's something that the show is going to continue. It's a theme that the show is going to continue to talk about. I hope that's not a spoiler. that with Spike, like this question of like authenticity versus behavior, and like, you know, who is Spike on the inside versus what is his behavior forced to be. I'm reminding myself to like watch that evolve.
That's cool. Yeah, I also think it's interesting that the chip is literally in his head, so it's an internal external process.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, what is the difference really between the chip and Jiminy Cricket, who is also an outside force, outside exercise on Pinocchio, right?
It's really similar also to A Clockwork Orange, right? Where it's like somebody who's still a bad person has this like thing that's applied to their psyche to prevent them hopefully from doing bad things, but it doesn't really work.
And let's be fair, the chip only prevents him doing one type of bad thing, which is murder against a human being or hurting a human. Right. But he has all this other reprehensible behavior during this entire episode. So it's not that he's a good person. There's just that there's one type of bad thing he can't do.
Yeah, that's why the chip should obey the Asimov 3 laws of robotics. That would make him a good person.
But I was also going to say, like, if we just like reflect on like what the show can get away with depicting and have a normal rating, like think about all the violence towards women in this episode alone. But the rating, you know, this doesn't violate any rating conventions. This can be shown on regular TV. I mean, it's bananas what can be done to women on just a nightly 8 p.m. news show. Even 20 years ago, when 20 years ago, when it felt like ratings were taking much more seriously, you know, TV was a lot more tame than it is now. But back then this was like, no one bats an eye. I don't know. It's definitely a good commentary on like on how violence is just very accepted, but in specific violence.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Trav. Yeah, I can forget how much violence this show really has because it's all kind of framed as fantasy violence. So I could forget like what the real world equivalents are. All right. Is that themes?
I think that's themes.
All right, let's do Rex.
Recommendations.
So this week I'm going to recommend Female Trouble because Spike's got female trouble. It's the John Waters movie. I think it's his follow-up to Pink Flamingo. It's Divine and it's bonkers. Divine, the actor. And the movie is bonkers and just such a weird flick. And it's like the whole movie is basically the last act of this episode, which is why I'm recommending it, where it's just like shit, insane as shit after shit. And like Divine's character gets acid thrown in her face. And then like has crazy acid scars on her face for the rest of the movie, which kind of reminded me of Drew's just casual burn victim look she was doing this week. The movie is like incredibly un-PC for this day and age, but it's like a John Waters classic, and you really should see it if you haven't. And the other one I'm going to recommend is Wild Boys, which is a 2018 French film that's kind of this weird like surreal Guy Madden-y thing. But so it begins with this teenage gang doing a terrible like thing to their teacher. Like they're very much like John brought up Clockwork Orange. They're very much like these teen Clockwork Orange boys, but their punishment, and they're all played by women, and then their punishment is to be taken and tied up by the sea captain who takes them to this crazy island and feeds them very sexual looking fruit that mutates them all into women. So it's totally weird, surreal movie. But the whole like attitude of these kids, of like Spike's really rocking like this teenage I'm the worst there's ever been attitude that they have at the beginning. And this movie is like genuinely good and weird. So you guys should check it out. All right. Then let's do predictions.
Virgin predictions.
Okay, Michael, you are currently at a 63. I'm sorry, excuse me. You are currently at a 64 even accuracy overall. And for season 5, you are at a 70.37%. Now let's dive into the old predictions, of which there are not too many here that we can actually confirm. I've got some to talk about, though. So in season 3, episode 8, Mike, you predicted that Spike will not get back together with Drusilla. Of course, we can't confirm or deny that because it could still happen. Unless people think that he did briefly get back together with her in this episode. We could maybe deny this one. What do you guys think?
They totally get back together for a minute.
Travis, what do you think? Do you think they're back together? Or do you think not yet?
I mean, they're back together for like 30 minutes, it feels like.
Well, it doesn't specify a duration.
It doesn't. I
Yeah,
guess
they're not a good match anymore. Y'all know that.
Yeah.
They're at different wavelengths. It's not going to happen.
I guess technically you can't argue that they did get back together.
Okay, I think it sounds like we're denying this one.
So there's no other open Drusilla predictions?
There is another one that is that Spike will kill Drusilla. That obviously does not happen, but could in the future.
It comes close.
Yeah, he does come close.
I'm so excited.
Michael, you predicted in season 5 of episode 4 that Buffy will not be hungover again. Now, we can't confirm or deny this one, but it looks good for this one since Buffy does say no to alcohol.
Yeah.
Fair point. She does remember what it's like to be hungover.
Okay. Season 4, episode 9. Michael, you predicted that Harmony is going to be jealous of a Buffy Spike hookup. Now, there is no Buffy Spike hookup for Harmony to be jealous of, but there is some Harmony jealousy here. So again, this is one that's like, it was on the brink, but it didn't quite happen. So this one is still open. And then this one, I think we can confirm for you. In season 4, episode 21, Michael, you predicted that Spike is going to continue to show up at Scooby Gang meetings. Spike coming to the Bronze and everyone's hanging out. I think that counts as a meeting. It might be a shindig, it might be a hootenanny, but I think it constitutes a meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and confirm that one if that's okay with everyone. Okay, so with one confirmation, one denial. Michael, your overall accuracy has dropped to a 63.89, and your accuracy for this season has dropped to a 67.86.
Great. Well, I have more predictions to make. Just throw them on the pile of predictions, as we call it. So for regular size predictions and then one super prediction. So I believe, as a prediction, the Bronze will get wrecked again. I think we're talking about the Bronze getting wrecked. This
Vetoed as too safe. It's not really vetoed.
Think how many times you could have predicted and repredicted this since the show began.
No, it's definitely infinite points can be made from the Bronze getting destroyed. But yeah, the Bronze is going to get wrecked again. It's the WWF arena of this show. It's got to get destroyed.
I just to not, because I'm going to be an asshole when this comes up. By wrecked, do you mean absolutely wrecked like it was by the trolls, or do you mean just like smashed up like a regular old fight?
People were murdered there without the place physically being destroyed. So that's a good point.
Just say damaged.
Yeah, like every time they have to buy new pool cues, which is like every time Buffy shows up.
Yeah. This place can't get insurance. At least regular insurance.
Well, they certainly can't get troll insurance.
All right, the Bronze is going to be damaged. And I'll maybe I need to be specific. Well, what can get destroyed?
Oh my god. Mike, walk away from this prediction.
All right. Thank you, Travis.
I don't want to spend my time discussing whether or not this is or is not true.
All right. Donna's going to tell Spike how she feels about him. So I'm going to have a Dawn crush moment. Spike is going to save Buffy's life. Do I have a prediction about this?
Spike will save Buffy's life? I don't think you do.
All right.
I don't believe you do.
Spike will save Buffy's life. Spike will stop Glory. Spike.
I think you have that one over. That one.
Are you just like throwing good money? Are you just leveraging your like the bet? Like, and then next week you'll say Buffy will stop Glory, so it'll be either Dawn, Spike, or Buffy that will stop Glory.
It's just this episode felt like we got to get. This is Spike's rock bottom. So, and this redemption arc of him and Buffy getting together at some point, just because the show wants that to happen.
So, Spike has to step in and do something. And we know that Joyce is going to die soon. And so it has to be kind of post Joyce, and whether that's like Buffy's nihilism or it's Spike's, the way that Spike intervenes to protect, Buffy, or defeats Glory. I mean, Spike has to do something noble, heroic, etc. Not sure what it's going to be. And then my final prediction, Buffy is going to resurrect Joyce. She's going to try to resurrect Joyce. It sounds like Joyce is going to die of non-supernatural means, but and then I believe Buffy will either, she'll attempt to resurrect Joyce at that point. Of course, it won't be possible. No one will let her try and do it, but that doesn't prevent her from doing it. And I think Buffy, I believe this is where Buffy's going to die somehow. And that's where she's going to get to spend time with her mom briefly in either a death or a dream sequence. This would be a good time for Spike to intervene. That way we can get some comedy out of what will be obviously a terrible, tragic situation. They'll be treated too dramatically if Angel's on the show, but if there's a Spike, we can get our way out of this and into a new relationship. So, my prediction is just Buffy's going to try to resurrect Joyce. But you got a little bit of access to my stream of consciousness.
Yeah. I feel like you could drop a couple more predictions based on that stream of consciousness.
Okay, let's do it.
Well, I feel like anything I said now would be spoilery, but you're saying some interesting stuff.
I'm gonna stick with these 5.
And do you have a super prediction, or is one of those a super prediction?
Buffy resurrecting Joyce is my super prediction.
Ah, very good. So that is worth 5 points instead of 1.
All right. I've been your host, Denis St John. You can find me. I'm at Denis Comics. That's DenisComix on Twitter and Instagram. I'm on the other podcast, The Nevers, HBO The Nevers, about Joss Whedon's new show. And you can, as always, find my books, The Land of Many Monsters and Many More Monster Tales, and Amelia, a Monsters and Girls book, wherever the internet is found. And you can follow my Patreon for new comics, which is Denis St John, DenisStJohn. Thank you, one and all, for listening and talking to us at Buffy Virgin. You can visit our website, buffyvirgin.com, for links to our blog, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. We reach out. We love to hear from you. And don't forget to rate and review us on the podcast listener of your choice. And we'll see you in hell.